Probably next week we will schedule the notes. Everybody are on the WhatsApp group, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yesterday we were discussing about agile methodology. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of agile methodology over waterfall, and core values of agile. Now we got to move into what is the ceremonies and discuss what does ceremonies or events mean. Okay. Any questions from yesterday's class? No? Fine. I consider that as no. Okay. Let me quickly start the class. Okay. With that, we are done with the basics of Agile. Now, let us move to what does Scrum means. Actually, if you have opened your course content, Introduction to Agile terminology, okay, you have the next one, Spring overview, right? SPRING, that is not NG, that is NT, sprint, SPRINT. That is sprint overview. There was a typo. So today we will be discussing ceremonies. What are the what do we mean by a backlog, product backlog, and sprint backlog? Okay, and we will be discussing what does a sprint means. Okay, for how many days will the sprint cycle is considered? Okay, and what else can be discussed as part of Agile? And I'll be showing you few Jira. Jira is a tool. Okay, I'll be showing you basic images of the Jira tool. That's not an freeware. It's a commercial tool. Very easy tool. You got to. I mean, just taking a look at it, you will be able to understand what does that mean. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Here we have these ceremonies, right? So what are the what does a ceremony mean? Okay, according to Agile playbook, so playbook 2021 ceremonies are called as events. Okay, ceremonies or events, okay, are nothing but the different kinds of meetings that needs to be scheduled and adhered to, okay, while we are in a sprint. Okay, what is a sprint? Sprint is nothing but an iteration. Okay, I mean it is a cycle wherein way it can be considered. I mean the cycle can be considered for a week to 4 weeks. That depends on company to company. Okay, this cycle can be for 1 week or it can be for 4 weeks. I mean from 1 week to 4 weeks. It can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks. Okay, what does this cycle mean? So as we were discussing, the requirements will be broken down into small chunks. These are called stories in Jira. Jira is a tool, as I was just saying. The bigger requirements will be broken down into a small chunks, and these small requirements will be prioritized. Okay, who will prioritize this? Or product owner. Who is product owner? Okay, now here, okay, roles in a scrum: product owner, master. Basically, in traditional waterfall model, how many roles do we see? Who was that who was able to scratch on my? Okay, fine. Uh, In traditional models, what are the different roles that we were going through? Initial, what is the first phase? Requirements gathering, right? Requirements gathering. See here.
Then
analysis, designing, development, okay, testing, implementation, maintenance. So here are the roles who are so business requirements gathering is done by marketing people. Okay, then who does the analysis of that? Business analyst. Then architects. Then who develops the application? Developers. Then test engineers. Who tests? Deployment team. Maintenance is like, again, it is done by all the team. Here when management board comes into picture. Okay, so in traditional waterfall or any model, so here we are having different kinds of people to do different tasks. Okay, requirement gathering, you have people, I mean, who does the marketing, okay, who will go to the customers, get the customers, okay, understand their requirements and pass it on to business analyst. Business analyst analyze these requirements, okay, post the discussions, architects design the application or app, okay, then these design documents are given to development team, and development team develops it. After development, testing team tests it. If everything is fine, the deployment team will push it to production. Okay, once in production, if there are any new enhancements, then all this process will happen again. So how many number of people are involved here? Marketing, analysts, architects, development team, but here we have only 3. Requirement gathering, analysis, design, okay, most of it will be done by product owner. Okay, Scrum Master manages everything. Okay, he acts as a bridge. Okay, he makes sure that the Scrum, what is Scrum? Scrum in an agile is a framework. Agile methodology is on the top, okay, and we have different methodologies, like as in we have in SDLC, we do have a waterfall model, we have V model, we have spiral model, we have prototype model, we have iterative model, we have fish model. Likewise, even in agile methodology, we do have number of types. Okay, among these are agile, sorry, Among these are Scrum, Kanban, Extreme Programming, Lean methodology, Lean software development methodology. Okay, like this we have number of different models or frameworks. We better call it a framework. Okay, we will be discussing only about Scrum. Okay, and I'll just brief about what does a Kanban mean. Okay, mostly Scrum and Kanban are the same. Okay, only thing is a Scrum methodology and Kanban. The difference is Scrum is having sprints or iterations. Kanban will not have iterations. Okay, it will not have cycles. Okay, so sprint, as we discussed, sprint is a cycle. Okay, which can last for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. Okay, what happens during this sprint cycle? Okay, initially, I mean during the project start, what we does is we in the sense everybody. Okay, release planning for a project will be done. So what does release planning mean? All the important top management people sit together, and top management people in the sense anybody who are relating to the project, including the product owner. Okay, sit together and start planning the project. Okay, so here what that's fine, Sital. Here release planning is a meeting, okay, where people discuss about the project. Okay, what is a plan? Nothing but how it needs to be developed and when it will be delivered, how, when, what, where. All these questions will be answered in release planning for that particular project. Okay, and then here the functionality of the application is broken down into smaller text. Okay, like for example, anybody wants to call out an application so that you understand. Tell me an application that you widely use.
WhatsApp.
Sorry?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Okay. WhatsApp is something that we use on a daily basis. Good, thank you. So, for example, here we are trying to develop WhatsApp application. Okay, that is what we have planned. Okay, so what are the different modules that we see in WhatsApp? Modules in the sense, let me open WhatsApp before. Okay, we do have charts, wherein which all the charts that we speak with different people or track there. Then we do have status. Anybody can post their status, and all those who are part of our contacts will post their status. You will be able to see the statuses. And yes, we do have calls. Okay, wherein which we can call different people who are in our contacts list. Apart from that, what others that you have in WhatsApp? We do have settings, okay, wherein which you can change your profile picture, you can add your comment, okay. You have account, you have charts, notifications, storage and data, help, you can invite a friend, okay. Apart from that, I mean, we do have something that helps us to log into WhatsApp using our computer, okay, WhatsApp web. So these are the different options in WhatsApp, right? So now for our discussion purpose, take WhatsApp altogether is a functionality of the application, okay. Here, let us break this functionality into smaller chunks, okay, or small 4 different modules, okay. Now, what is the basic purpose of WhatsApp application? Tell me one purpose that we do on WhatsApp.
Communication.
Yes. What does it mean? Chat, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now, among these 4 modules, I mean the WhatsApp functionality is broken down into 4 modules: charts, statuses, calls, and settings. Okay. What do we feel is the prioritized, the most top priority module among all these 4? Chart, statuses, calls, and settings.
Chart
Good.
first.
Okay. Then after chart,
Call.
settings. Okay. Then calls.
And the last one is the status.
Okay. So we all gave status as last priority. Okay. First one was charts. Second one was settings. Third one was calls, right? So I would change the priority. According to me, status, I mean, setting is the top prioritized. Any comments on this one?
Means how?
Okay. Settings in the sense, what does settings involve? You have account details. Okay. In order to use WhatsApp, you need to log into WhatsApp, which is part of your settings, account details, right? Then
Yes, sir.
in the account details, you have privacy, security, these kind of details. So I would say I would give settings as top priority, then comes to chart. Do you guys agree with me, or you want to contradict?
No, sir. Settings should be first. Correct.
Okay. Why? Because in order to chat with somebody, you should log in first. In order to login is part of our settings. So I would give first preference to settings, and then chat, and then calls, and then status. So is this fine? So the main purpose of WhatsApp is to chat. So I gave this as second priority. For our discussion purpose, we can give the priority however we want. Okay. End of the day, that is business who will be giving the priority on the application which we are working. Who is business? Business is somebody who are giving us the budget, who are giving us the application to be developed. Who is the product owner here? Product owner. We are going to develop a product and he is the owner. Is nothing but the client, okay, which we were discussing all these days. During yesterday class, I clearly mentioned that in agile methodology, client will be in touch with the team on a regular basis, right? Okay, if there is a change, client did not understand or did not like some functionality, he will change it. Okay, and agile adopts that change is what we were discussing, right? So who is this client? Here in agile methodology is called as product owner. Okay, he is the person who gives us the functionality to be developed. How does he give this functionality for us to be developed? The complete functionality of an application is broken down. That's that's his own job. Okay, he breaks down into different modules. As we broke down WhatsApp into different modules, he prioritizes which one he needs first on priority, so that it can be pushed to production and he will be able to do some business with it. Okay, so now in this example, after settings module is done, development and pushed to production, and then comes to chart. After we develop and give the chart to the production, can WhatsApp application be on production? And if we are having the facility of chart, okay, we can use WhatsApp, right? Why? Because the main purpose of WhatsApp is to chat with our friends or contacts. Okay, so here, even in these different modules, we thought setting is the min module or top prioritized module. Even in settings module, these settings is further broken down into different small chunks. Okay. Settings itself is having number of other modules, right? We have account details, we have privacy details, we have security, but are all this important? We have notifications, storage and data. We do have a help. We have something like invite a friend. Are all this important? While we are developing settings module, okay, are all this important is the question. What do we need to log into WhatsApp? Mobile number. That's all right. So having the only account in settings and security, these two small chunks of the functionality in setting module, and then we moving on to the second module, chart, and developing the chart. Okay, now we should be good to use WhatsApp. Am I right?
Yes.
So in settings, we do have modules like accounts, charts, notifications, storage and data, help, invite a friend. Okay, and yes, we do have option to have our DP, display image, and and a small text box to enter your name or whatever it is. Okay, these are the different modules to in a settings. Okay, so all these are important. Again, this settings module is further broken down into these many types of small chunks, and then here again the prioritization begins. Okay, now what is really important? Accounts and security are the major. Okay, of course, storage and data is also important. However, that need not be in the settings. That need not be in the prod. You can have a server which stores everything. Okay, it can be later pushed to our later pushed to production. Anyway, you need a server to store the data, right? So here, what is product owner doing? The major functionality of the application is broken down into modules, and these modules are further broken down into different other modules, and these are prioritized based on the business need. Yeah, everybody know what is a priority mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay, priority is nothing but the numbering that we give, which one needs to be done first. Okay, for somebody who doesn't know. Okay, so the top prioritized functionality or is broken down, picked up, and taken for our development. For our development, in the sense, it is taken as part of the sprint. What is a sprint? Nothing but a cycle, right? So these sprints are having stories. Stories are nothing but these small chunks of functionality that needs to be developed. This is all done by product owner. Okay, he takes the application functionality, breaks down into modules. Again, these modules are further broken down into smaller chunks or smaller functionalities called stories. Okay, these stories are prioritized and taken into sprint. Okay, what does a story mean? Story is nothing but a functionality describing what needs to be developed, how it needs to be developed, what is the definition of done. What does definition of done mean? What is definition of ready and devo or DOD? Definition of ready is in our, this story is nothing but a small kind of template wherein which it will be picked up by the development team to develop the application. Okay, to develop the module or to develop the small piece of the functionality that is related to the application, right? So here, product owner's responsibility is to give us the stories. Okay. Now, what is a product backlog? Okay. Now, all these stories, take for example, WhatsApp is broken down into 4 different modules, and each module is divided into smaller chunks of functionalities, right? All these are written in the form of a story. These are called stories. Story is nothing but a small template which will have the summary of the functionality. Okay, who will be taking up and developing it? The developer. Okay, then it contains the definition of ready, when it should be kind of definition of ready means when the story needs to be developed. Okay. Definition of done, which means that when the story is said to be satisfying all the functionalities. Okay. I mean, that is given in the summary. Then if there are any dependencies to develop this story, all this required information in order to develop that small piece of functionality will be part of this story. Okay, that is nothing but a story. These stories, this number of stories which product owner develops in the sense product owner designs or breaks down. Okay, these all the stories will be part of product backlog. Okay, what does product backlog means? Product is nothing but the application. Here we have WhatsApp. Backlog, the English word. Okay, what is the backlog? What are the items that we need to do will be sitting in our backlog, right? I mean, in day in and day out, we will be able to we'll be doing this, right? Okay, we as we start our day, we just think like what are our works today to do. I mean, that generally every person will be thinking, right? Okay, I'll have to go there, pick up something, I'll have to do this, I'll have to complete this task, I'll have to fix something, kind of. Okay, all these activities, okay, are called as backlog. Okay, these are all the pending items for me to do today. Likewise, product backlog contains all the functionalities that needs to be developed as part of this application. Okay, there is a big list of stories in product backlog, wherein which these stories will be containing the functionalities that needs to be developed. Okay, so these stories are prioritized in product backlog. Okay, like we just discussed, settings module requires accounts and security initially. Okay, account to login and security, yes, obviously. So these two modules needs to be developed in settings, and then we will have to pick up another module called chat, so that WhatsApp can be in production and can be used by all the stakeholders, right? So in this, take for example, there are 100 small stories or 100 stories in our product backlog. So these 100 stories are further broken. I mean, these 100 stories are then prioritized and pulled into sprint backlog. Okay, based on the capacity of the team members. See, here we have the third is team member. Basically, a sprint will, I mean, this a scrum team will have 3 to 9 people. Okay, which includes product owner, scrum master, and development team or team members. There is nothing called as development team in sprint or scrum. Everybody should be doing all the activities. You should know how to develop, you should know how to test, you should know how to deploy. You should know how to write stories. If product owner is not technically strong, he will just break the stories and write the functionality. The definition of ready, definition of done, dependencies, everything needs to be done by the team members. Now, don't get into the fear that how can I develop if I am a team member in an agile world, or if I am a team member in a company that is having agile. No, don't worry about it. Okay, we moved from waterfall to agile methodology. I mean, which is having, I mean, while moving, it's like previously there was separate development team, separate testing team. So all these testers are now part of team member of a Scrum team. A Scrum team, as I said, it's a small team which is having 3 to 9 people, 3 to 9 people in it. Okay, likewise, like this Scrum team, there are a number of Scrum teams. Okay, for example, in order to develop our WhatsApp application, there can be 4 to 5 Scrum teams, depending on company's capability of arranging the resources for the project. Okay, there can be different teams working for the same project. Okay, Scrum teams are nothing but small teams who will be able to pick up the stories from the product backlog and start developing it. If, for example, there are 100 stories in our product backlog, okay, first 10 or first 20 are prioritized based on the priority by the product owner. If there are 4 Scrum teams working for our WhatsApp application, then these 20 will be further divided among these 4 teams. Okay, 5 stories will be taken by each team based on the team capacity. What is team capacity? Take, for example, the sprint cycle, which we were discussing, right? Sprint is nothing but the cycle which can span from 1 week to 4 weeks. Okay, so take, for example, our sprint is a 2-week sprint or a 2-week cycle. Every 2 weeks, you should be able to pick up a story or stories. Okay, you need to able to develop it. You should be able to test it. You should be able to push it to production. Okay, so any story is nothing but a small functionality of our application, right? Any story that is being picked up as part of sprint needs to be developed, tested, and it should be in production. All this should happen in this 2 weeks cycle. And as we were discussing, these cycles can be 1 week also. 1 week is nothing but 5 days. In these 5 days, team should be capable of doing all these activities: development, testing, tested, as well as tested in the sense it of course it will be integrated also with the previous modules. Developed, tested, as well as pushed to production. So for our understanding purpose, let's keep it sprint as 2 weeks. So 2 weeks sprint is nothing but a 10 working days. That's all right. Software industry works 5 days a week, which is like 10 working days. So based on these 10 working days, each team member works for 8 hours. Okay. Based on the capacity of each team member, the stories will be picked up from the product backlog and pulled to sprint backlog. So if there are 100 stories in product backlog, 20 stories are pulled to sprint backlog based on the top priority. Okay, and these stories will be worked by different teams that are working on WhatsApp application. Okay, so Now the product backlog is now reduced to reduced to 80 story points. Okay, and 20 story points are currently being worked. 80 stories and 20 stories are being worked up by 4 teams. You're getting what I'm saying? Or am I confusing you?
80 story points.
Sorry?
So what was that? 80 stories or 80 hours?
80 stories. Stories, what does a story mean? Story is a small piece of functionality that needs to be developed. Okay. You're not
80 stories
understanding?
or 80 sprints.
80 stories, not 80 sprints. See, each
Okay.
sprint, what did I say? There are 100 stories in our product backlog. 20 stories
Okay.
are picked up to be worked upon by 4 different teams. I mean, 4 teams are working for WhatsApp, right? In our example.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if 20 stories are picked up for sprint 1, okay, which means that 20 stories should be done in 2 weeks. After 2 weeks cycle, sprint 2 will start. And from these 80 stories that are in product backlog, this will be again prioritized. Product owner will prioritize this and pick up the top 20. So sprint 2, another 20 will be picked up by the team. Likewise, you will be able to develop WhatsApp application in 5 sprints, right? 20 stories, 100 stories are divided into five iterations or 5 sprints, right? Sprint 1, you will take the first 20. Sprint 2, you'll take the next 20. 3, next 20. 4, next 20. 5, next 20. We are done with 100. You understand what I'm saying? Questions?
Yes.
So, when 4 teams are working, okay, 100 stories will be done in 5 sprints. So, after 5 sprints, you should be able to have WhatsApp application fully running with all the functionalities. 5 sprints mean how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2.5 months. In 2.5 months, with 4 teams, 4 Scrum teams working on WhatsApp application, you should be able to deliver. Now, understand how Agile methodology is going to help us deliver quicker. All this planning is done in release planning. Okay, when during release planning, how many teams are working? What are the what are the number of stories that are present in our product backlog? Okay, what is the capacity of the team? How many can be picked up by each team? So how many sprints will it take to close this? Now, clear picture is there, right? While release planning is done, all these are taken into consideration, and we can be able to say, okay, on sprint 6, by sprint 5, we should be able to develop WhatsApp application. It should be all running into production. Okay, that planning will be done in release planning. Okay, so now, okay, any questions? Let me break you here and come up with guys, come up with any questions. Did I confuse you? See, confusion is only with the terminology. Try to understand the terminology. Okay, the what is that we are doing is what we did it in the waterfall model. However, only the terminal is changed and the way of doing it changes. Okay, here what we are doing is we are not waiting for years together. Waterfall model or any traditional model takes years together for clients to see the product. Okay, but here the at least small functionality of the product can be seen in next 2 weeks. Okay, here what we thought is, okay, accounts and security and chart will be released during the first phase. Okay, okay, give me a moment. Release planning is nothing but we will be planning a release. What does a release mean? Okay, okay, in our example, in our WhatsApp example, WhatsApp needs to be developed. Okay, and it should be in use by the end users or stakeholders. Okay, we have the project, it needs to be developed and pushed to production for end users to be using it. For that, release is nothing but when are you going to release it to production? When are you going to put it in production so that end users can use it? So here in our example, release planning, in release planning, okay, all the items like the functionality of the application, okay, how many stories will be part of this application. Stories in the sense the application functionality is broken down into modules and then small pieces of functionalities. These functionalities are derived as stories, right? These functionalities are tracked in product backlog as stories. So in our example, we got 100 stories. Okay, in release planning, we plan the release. Okay, when are we going to give WhatsApp into put WhatsApp into production is what we are planning. Okay, so how does this happen? So here in planning, we think about number of resources who will be working. Okay, here in our example, number of scrum teams. Okay, number of scrum teams that will be working as part of this project. Okay, and based on number of stories, we have 100 stories, right? We have 4 teams which are working, we have 100 stories. Okay, based on the number of stories, okay, based on the priority, we can easily say that 4 teams will be able to complete WhatsApp application in 5 sprints. So likewise, we will be likewise we will be able to plan the release. Okay, so what is that done is resources, okay, sprints, stories. Okay, how many stories, how many resources, how many sprints, when will the product be finally in production? Okay, all this will be discussed. How, when, what, where will be discussed as part of release planning. Any questions on release planning? we will not be part of release planning. Don't worry about it. Okay. Sital, Supriya, are you good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, product owner's responsibility is to break the functionality into smaller chunks and put it as stories in product backlog and prioritize it. And based on the capacity, these prioritized stories are pulled into sprint backlog. There are two backlogs. Product backlog is containing all the stories related to the product. Sprint backlog is containing the stories that will be delivered in the 2-week sprint by all the teams, by all the 4 teams. For example, the first 20 prioritized items will be picked up by these 4 teams and be delivered. Okay, so we have product backlog containing all the functionalities as part all the functionalities as stories in product backlog, and top prioritized stories will be pulled from product backlog to sprint backlog. Okay, and will be worked upon for 2 weeks in our example. And this worked upon in the sense they will be developed, tested, and pushed to production. By the end of 2 weeks, all the stories that are picked up needs to be delivered, come what may. Whose responsibility is that? Is Scrum Master. Scrum Master responsibility is to, so we are good with product owner, right? Product owner responsibilities. Now comes team member. Team member and Scrum Master. What does Scrum Master do? Scrum Master plans all this: release planning, sprint planning, okay, product backlog, daily startup reviews and retros. These are the different meetings that happen in our general terminology. These 5 are the different kinds of meetings that happen on a every sprint. Okay, just before we starting the sprint, okay, we plan the sprint. Release planning is done only once for the application. Okay, now coming to these 5 which I have highlighted: release, sprint planning, PBR, product backlog, refinement or grooming, okay, stand up, review and retro. All this will be happening as part of every sprint. Every event or every meeting in our terminology, okay, is time boxed. Okay, it should stick to the timing. We cannot waste hours together sitting in the meetings, and team members can come back saying that I was attending a meeting, I don't have time, so I was not able to deliver the functionality. No, that is the reason every event in the Scrum or every event in the sprint is time boxed, and this time is kept aside. Okay, and only then the capacity is planned. This meetings time for 2 weeks is kept aside. Okay, take for example, 5 people are working, 5 team members are working for 8 hours, 8 5s are 40. This takes 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, 4. Take for example 5 hours, 40 into 40. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So take for example, all these meetings take 6 hours for everybody. Okay, so the actual capacity is minus from the capacity that we are spending on meetings is being removed from the actual capacity, and only then the stories or the functionality is being picked up by the team to work upon. Okay, once any story is committed, it should be delivered. After 2 weeks, it should be in production. Okay. So that's the reason we plan it properly in our sprint planning. Sprint planning is nothing but the 2 week cycle of 2 week sprint will be planned. How many what stories needs to be picked up? Okay, which story, who will be working on which story? Okay, take for example, 5 stories are picked up for 5 team members. Who will be working on which story? Each team is having their own team members, right? So when 5 stories are picked up, okay, who wants to work on this story? Okay, and what is the effort to work on this story? Okay, all these are planned during our sprint plan. Okay, when among 100, 20 are pulled to sprint backlog, right? So we have 4 teams, right? Each team takes up 5 story points. This sprint planning happens to each and every team separately. Okay, when first team takes up 5 stories for sprint 1, okay, all the team members sit for sprint planning. They discuss about the stories. Okay, what needs to be, if there are any questions, what needs to be developed, how it needs to be developed, what is the technology, etc. Okay, and who needs to take this, what is the effort that is involved to complete the story. Okay, if there are any dependencies, okay, how many, what is the effort that is involved to complete the story. All this will be done as part of sprint planning. Okay, so after sprint planning, the 5 stories will be assigned to 5 team members in our team 1. Okay, once the sprint starts, the team member starts working on the items that are stories that are assigned to them. Okay, that's sprint planning, and they should be able to complete it within 2 weeks. If they feel that it cannot be completed within 2 weeks, it should be called out during the planning. Okay, so the further discussion, if there are any questions, okay, about any story, all this will be done as part of PBR, product backlog refinement, product backlog grooming. Okay, what is this product backlog? What is a product backlog? We are having 100 stories, right? It's only product owner who knows completely about this 100 stories. Why? Because he himself broken down the functionality into 100 stories, right? So now what is PBR, product backlog refinement? So each story in PBR, this product backlog refinement happens every week. Okay, it is time boxed to an hour every week. Okay, so each story that needs to be picked up in the next sprint, I mean sprint 2, is discussed in sprint 1. This PBR will be happening every sprint. Okay, what is done in PBR is, you have 80 items left over in product backlog, right? Top prioritized 20 items will be picked up for PBR, and they will be discussed in this meeting. Okay, what will be discussed? Team needs to understand what needs to be developed and what is the definition of done. What is the definition of done of each story? Okay, what is the functionality? Functionality needs to be understood by everybody. Okay, what needs to be developed? What is the technology that needs to be used? who needs to test this, okay, when this needs to be deployed, okay, all these are tracked, understood in the PBR for all the stories that we will be working on sprint 2. Currently we are in sprint 1. This PBR happens in sprint 1. Okay, what will be discussed is the stories that we will be working on sprint 2 will be discussed in sprint 1. Likewise, sprint 3 stories will be discussed in PBR of sprint 2. Likewise, sprint 4 stories will be discussed in PBR of sprint 3. So -1. Okay, the product backlog will be refined in -1 sprint, and while we are starting our sprint planning, okay, you are good with all the stories which you understood all the stories, you know what needs to be developed, you know when, who needs to test, how it needs to be tested, you know when it needs to be sent to production. So in PBR, you will be all good with all the stories that needs to be worked on in the sprint. So sprint planning will be much easier. You know which story to pick as part of the sprint, you know which story to be tested, you know which story needs to be sent to the production. So sprint planning will be much easier. Okay.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah, please.
Sir, what is ready and done? You told now.
Yeah, definition of ready and definition of done is nothing but the more information you put on in the story. I mean, for anybody who is developing it, what is definition of ready of a story? Definition of ready of a story is nothing but in order to develop a functionality, okay, if there are any dependencies to develop this functionality. See, I cannot go and develop a status module in WhatsApp if there is no platform to have that status. You are getting what I'm saying? Take for example,
Yes.
only settings module. In settings module, you have only accounts being developed. Okay, can we now go and develop the status module? Yes, of course we can develop it. Will we be able to deploy to production without a platform? No, right?
No.
So for definition of ready will say that, okay, in order to develop this status module, settings should already be ready. Okay, settings, all the settings that are required. Okay, then the platform should be ready. Okay, then it should, I mean, the context should be ready.
So platform as well.
Platform as in the actual WhatsApp.
Hmm.
Okay, where are we seeing the calls, charts, as well as status?
Okay.
I mean, the
These tables.
actual application needs to be ready, right?
Okay.
The basic framework platform in the sense.
Okay.
Okay. So you're good, Adish?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I think I'm lost. Okay. PBR. So all the PBR is nothing but the name says product backlog refinement. We will be refining the stories that are there in our product backlog. Okay. So that it is understood by all the team members. And when we start our sprint 2, we have already knowledge on all the stories which we will be working on sprint 2, so that we plan accordingly. Okay, as a team member, I want to take story number A, story A, or X, some X resource will say, okay, I'll work on story B. Okay, some other guy will say, okay, I'll work on story C. Okay, likewise, team members will pick up their stories that needs to be worked on, and they will have to complete it by sprint end. So PBR is nothing but we will be refining the stories, okay, in the PBR meeting. Refining in the sense better understanding the story, nothing else than that. And while we are understanding and while we are discussing on a particular story, we get some points to be understood or to be tracked. This will be tracked as part of that story in the form of definition of ready and definition of done. What is definition of done is nothing but when do you say this functionality is all right? Okay, when do you say it should be developed, it should be tested, it should be according to the summary or the actual purpose of the story needs to be developed. Okay. I mean, I'm saying this more generically. If we discuss about the actual story, we will come to know what will be the definition of done and definition of ready. Okay. Generally, generally the items which I am saying will be part of this definition of ready and definition of done. Okay. So PBR is to understand the stories in a more detailed way by all the team members. Any meeting that is part of this sprint needs to be attended by each and every team member. Okay, and it is mandatory. What is daily stand-up? Daily stand-up is a meeting that happens every day of the sprint. Okay, it is time boxed to 15 minutes. Every team member needs to attend this meeting. Okay, he needs to answer 3 questions. What did you work yesterday? What you will be doing? What you will be working today? And if there are any impediments. 3 questions needs to be answered. What you did yesterday, what you will be doing today, and if there are any impediments. 3 questions needs to be answered by each and every team member. It is time boxed to 15 minutes. It should not exceed more than 15 minutes. Okay. So this meeting is called daily stand-up meeting. Okay. Each team member should attend this meeting on a daily basis. He needs to call out what he worked on yesterday, what he will be working on today, and if there are any impediments. What is an impediment? Impediment is nothing but a blocker. If he is stuck somewhere, okay, if he needs something from anybody, if he is waiting for some inputs from some team, or if his functionality is waiting for some XYZ functionality to be completed, any blocker, anything that is blocking him from working on his story is called an impediment. So as a Scrum Master, it is Scrum Master duty to stop or to end those impediments. Okay, all these meetings should be conducted by Scrum Master. Okay, and see, Scrum Master responsibility is he needs to take care of the team. Team in the sense each and every team member. He is responsible whether the product backlog is all good. He is responsible for the stories in the product backlog. He is responsible for whether the stories are understood by all the team members. He is responsible to make sure that all the team members are attending all the meetings. He is responsible to make sure that there are no impediments for all the team members. He should be responsible to he is responsible to make sure that all the team members complete all the stories that are being picked up as part of the sprint and pushed to production. Okay, so everything that is related to particular team needs will be responsible by the Scrum Master. Scrum Master. Okay, Scrum is nothing but Scrum team. Master is the kind of a person who takes care of the team. Okay, anything that happens, something related to that particular team will be responsible by Scrum Master. If something did not go well, Scrum Master will be called. If something is not really working, Scrum Master needs to understand what that is. Okay, if there are impediments, Scrum Master. If there are something blocking the team from going forward with the development, Scrum Master needs to take care of it. Okay. Now, did you understand what daily stand-up means? In general term, each team member should be giving the status. I should not call it as a status. Okay. It is only calling out, each team member calling out what he worked yesterday, what he will be working today, and if there are any blockers. Okay, so that other team members needs to know what is the status of the application. This daily stand-up should happen on daily basis. This is mandatory and it should be attended by each and every team member. That's another meeting. Then moving on to review and retro. Review is nothing but all the stories will be developed. Okay, the review and retro will happen. These two meetings will happen by the end of the sprint. Okay, at the end of the sprint. So review is nothing but the stories that are developed will be reviewed. I mean, by the product owner, or if there are any business stakeholders, it will be showcased to the team what was developed and how it will how the functionality will be working. Okay, so if something is not really good, here product owner can request for a change. Okay, I was thinking this needs to be developed and something else was developed. Okay, I don't need this. Okay, this needs to be changed, or any kind of changes comes here. Okay, this gives a chance for product owner to add more stories to our backlog. Or to that matter, I mean, he can also reduce the stories. Okay, if there is a change happening, definitely stories will be added to the sprint backlog, which means that we as engineers will have more work. If project has to be completed in 5 sprints, now it's going to take sprint 6. Okay, so that is review. The work which is done during the sprints is reviewed by the end of each and every sprint. It should be showcased, okay, to the product owner as well as the team. What is retrospective? Retrospective meeting is nothing but we will be retrospecting what 4 items: what went well, what did not go well, what needs to be improved, what needs to be continued. Okay, retrospect meeting is nothing but another half an hour, another 1 hour meeting where only team members and Scrum Master will be part of it. Okay, what happened during this sprint will be discussed. Okay, what went well? Okay, during this sprint, what did not go well during this sprint? Okay, any improvement areas during this sprint, and if any best practices that made our work simpler, okay, that can be continued. 4 questions will be answered: what went well, what did not go well, what needs to be improved, what needs to be continued. Okay, all the team members are given chances to put their comments. There is a board, retrospective board, which will be shared by the Scrum Master during the end of each sprint. Okay, and everybody will enter their comments in the 4 sections. Okay, so that this retrospective, why do we do this retrospective, is to improve as a team. If something did not work out, okay, in retrospective we'll be discussing about this. Okay, we'll be discussing about the improvement areas. How can we stop these impediments? Okay, now that's the input for the Scrum Master to make a note of all the impediments or whatever it is. That's the reason managers will not be part of this retrospective. Okay, retrospective is only for team members and Scrum Master. Okay, see, if you have a manager, sprint is something that you will have the capacity that you will have to work on complete capacity, only then you will be able to deliver. And if some manager calls you and assigns you some other work which takes 2 to 3 days to complete, I mean, just an example, how will you be able to deliver the sprint stories that were assigned to you? You will not be able to, right? So during retrospective, you can call it out. Okay, my manager called me and he assigned me some other work which is not related to sprint, so I was not able to deliver it. Okay, that's now Scrum Master responsibility. I'll speak with, in the sense, Scrum Master will speak with the manager, and you as a team member, you cannot go and fight back with your manager saying that I'm having some other work, right? Because you should be in your manager's good book. Okay, you cannot say that I cannot work, I have some else work, something else. Okay, now it's Scrum Master responsibility to go and speak with your manager, and Scrum Masters know how to speak with them. Okay, so it is Scrum Master responsibility to make sure that team is not deviated. Okay, team is having the maximum capacity to complete the job that is being done by the that is being picked up during the sprint. Okay, this is all about events and roles in Scrum. Questions? With this, I think I am done with agile methodology. Only thing is, tomorrow I'll show you the pictures of Jira board. Okay, try to explain how things happen, where the stories will be sitting, what is the product backlog, what is the sprint backlog, how are the stories pulled into sprint, how do we start the sprint. Okay, we in the sense Scrum Master start the sprint, which stories are worked upon how. Okay, all this one tomorrow I'll show you in a in the pictures. I cannot have the application, it's a commercial application. Okay, so I'll explain you in detail how all this will happen. Questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Like means we have the story points for development, right? Like means the small functionality which we have to develop. Okay,
Right.
so as a tester, the story point for us is also different or the same. Like means we have to, think about that
Good question.
development.
Good question. How do you know the something called a story point?
Okay, like means you are asking me.
Yes.
Okay, so if
No.
as per the like means sports.
Did somebody
Yeah.
tell you there is something called a story point?
Yes, you just
I
told
said
us.
I said stories, not story points.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
story
like,
points. Yes.
yeah.
I thought
Actually,
story points.
actually, my husband told me, but
Okay.
it was
Okay.
like
Fine.
me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
That's where I want. I did not get the story point concept because that's again a different concept which you don't
Oh,
understand at this time. Okay.
okay, okay,
Story point
okay,
is nothing but the capacity that is required for you to complete separate task. Okay.
okay.
Okay. It is
So,
nothing but
but
okay. Let me complete.
like my
Let me
story
complete.
point and okay, yeah. Sorry.
Let me complete. After this, you put your question. Okay.
Okay,
It is nothing but the capacity that a team member require to complete the task. Okay.
okay.
But here I did not mention that word as story point because again this deviates. I mean the class deviates. What is a hour and how are we relating that to a story point? Okay. Generally, we as a as a human being, if I ask you to say what is that it takes to complete some task, we say it in hours, right?
Yeah, yes.
So okay, yeah, okay, it takes 3 hours for me to go somewhere and pick up some baggage. Okay, it takes 1 hour for me. So I just want to don't deviate the class and explain again about story points. That's the reason I was saying the capacity. I was using the word capacity. Okay. So
Okay.
now your question, please.
Yeah, so like means my question is now is different now. So story and story point are different,
Yes.
right?
Story point
Okay.
is the capacity that is required to do a story.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Story
And story
points,
is like means yeah.
sorry,
And story is like the requirement.
yeah, story is small functionality that needs to be developed. Is
Okay.
nothing but the requirement.
Okay.
And your question
Mm, yes.
was very much valid. Developers give separate story points, testers give separate story points. Was your question right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good question. Okay, see, during sprint planning, complete Scrum team will be part of this sprint planning. Okay, while somebody is discussing, or while team is discussing on a particular story, okay, it is the developer who picks up the story, and even the test engineer is there as part of this sprint planning. So when a story is picked up, if developer call outs that I need 3 story points, okay, to develop this story, tester adds to it. He says, okay, I need 1 or 2 story points to test it. So total, it will take 5 story points for the story to be completed. So the story points are given combinedly. It cannot be separated. Why? Because if you pick up a story in a sprint, it should be developed as well as tested. Okay.
Okay.
Development in one sprint, testing in another sprint cannot happen until unless it is automation. Automation can be done in next sprint. Okay. But it should be completed within the sprint. So the story points, while story points are given, while the capacity is given to a story, okay, it includes both development effort as well as testing effort. And the story is story pointed. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions on Agile, guys? I am certified Scrum Master. I am advanced certified Scrum Master. I am less certified also. Less is large scale Scrum. Okay. Any other questions related to Scrum? Should I consider silence as you're all good with?
Sir, can you repeat retrospective, sir?
Retrospective. Okay. Retrospective is a meeting which is again time boxed to 1 hour. Okay. 4 questions needs to be answered by each and every team member. Retrospective have, the attendees for retrospective are team members and Scrum Master. No other, even the product owner will not be, will be part of this retrospective. No manager is supposed to join this retrospective, only team members and Scrum Master. What needs to be answered as part of this retrospective? What went well during the sprint? What did not go well during the sprint? What are the improvement areas? Okay, what needs to be continued? These are the 4 questions that will be answered as part of this retrospective. Okay. So what went well? What went well is like, okay, I was able to learn some new technology. Some team member may call out, okay, this story, in order to do this story, I'll have to learn something. So I learned it. So that's a learning curve for me. So I was able to learn. So I feel this is something which went well. Okay. There was a blocker for a team member which holded his job from doing. Okay, that did not go well. So he'll call out in the what did not go well. Okay, needs improvement. If there is something that is really stopping us on sprint on sprint basis, and which needs to be improved. Like for example, there are a few dependencies. We do have SLAs. So, things can happen. We can reduce the SLAs and get our things done. Kind of. I'm just giving an example for things that needs to be improved. Okay. And then if there are any best practices that were followed and that saved every team member's time. Okay. That was able to make our job easier. Anything, any best practice can be part of what can be continued. Okay, if something really did not go well, any team member on can be calling this out, and it is Scrum Master responsibility to make sure that there are no impediments or something that is blocking the team or something that is deviating the team. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Sitaram. Any other questions, team? I know we are 15 minutes past. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.